Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your interest in the Justice for Families program and for participating in this pre-application information session. The session is for the fiscal year 2025 Notice of Funding Opportunity that was posted on November 27th, 2024. My name is Maureen, or Mo Monagle. I am a Grants Management Specialist for the Justice for Families program. And joining me today is Hannah Puffer, Grants Management Specialist, and my colleague from the Justice for Families team. Together, we'll be leading this webinar. Before we begin to review the funding opportunity and the application process, we recommend you follow along with the Notice of Funding Opportunity as we go through today's webinar. The link was provided for you in the chat. Hold on one second, I'm having a technical difficulty. The Justice for Families Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO. Sorry, can you use the next slide? Thank you. The Justice for Families Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, was posted on November 27th, 2024. Application submissions are due by 8:59 p.m. Eastern Time on January 22nd, 2025, and will be submitted through a two-step process. Applicants will submit the SF-424 and SF-LLL in grants.gov by January 17th, 2025, and then submit the full application in the Just Grant system by January 22nd, 2025. We'll be providing more information on that process later in this presentation. We recommend everyone thoroughly read the NOFO before applying. At the end of this presentation, we will open it up to questions. However, please enter your questions in the Q&A box as they come up. Next slide. The Justice for Families program was first authorized in the Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2013. The program supports activities to improve the capacity of communities and courts to respond to families impacted by domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, and in some cases, child abuse, with court-based and court-related programs, supervised visitation and safe exchange by and between parents, training and technical assistance for people who work with families in the court system, and civil legal services. Next slide. Eligible applicants are limited to states, units of local government, Indian tribal governments, courts, including juvenile courts, victim service providers, nonprofit organizations, and legal service providers. Please note that a law enforcement agency is not considered a unit of local government. It does not include police departments, sheriff departments, probation and parole, etc. Also, prosecutors' offices are not considered courts and therefore cannot serve as the court partner or apply on behalf of a court. Next slide. All applicants for the Justice for Families program are required to submit a certification of eligibility. Applicants proposing projects under Purpose Areas 1, 5, or 6 will be required to submit additional certification letters. Please read the Other Certification section of the Notice of Funding Opportunity very carefully to determine which letters may be required for an application. This information may be found on page 8 of the Notice of Funding Opportunity. Certification letters must be uploaded as separate attachments in JustGrants. Please note that in JustGrants, each certification has its own labeled place to be uploaded and should not be uploaded under the header labeled General. Contact the Justice for Families program at ovw.jff@usdoj.gov if you have any questions about certification letters. Sample certification letters may be found on the OVW website under the Resources for Applicants page. Next slide. All applications for the Justice for Families program must include formal partnerships with both one, a nonprofit, non-governmental, PowerPoint, or non-governmental, or tribal domestic violence or sexual assault victim service provider, and two, a court. Applications that do not meet this requirement will not be eligible for Justice for Families program funding and will be removed from consideration. Partnerships are formally demonstrated through an MOU and in some cases, a letter of commitment. More information on required partnerships can be found on page 9 of the Notice of Funding Opportunity. Please note that a governmental victim service agency does not qualify as a victim service provider under the definition. Additionally, if your organization primarily provides supervised visitation services for families with a history of domestic violence, you may qualify for a victim service provider. And finally, a court partner must be the court and signed by the court's authorized representative, such as the court administrator or a presiding or chief judge. A police chief, captain, sheriff, or attorney general does not qualify as a representative of the court. As a reminder, an Indian tribal government may submit signed letters of commitment from each partnering agency if the tribal government is unable to submit a memorandum of understanding at the time of application. Next slide. New applicants are those that have never received direct funding under the Justice for Families program or whose previous Justice for Families funding expired on or before January 22nd, 2024. Continuation applications are those that have an existing award or an award that will close after January 22nd, 2024. Continuation funding is not guaranteed. Please note that grant recipients that received funding as a lead applicant under the Justice for Families program for 36 months in FY23 or FY 2024 are not eligible to apply. Next slide. The Justice for Families program has 8 statutory purpose areas. However, the FY 2025 funding opportunity will only address 5 of these purpose areas. Applicants may address the following purpose areas. 1, for supervised visitation and safe exchange. Purpose area 3 is training for court-based and court-related personnel. Purpose area 5 is for court and court-based programs and services. Purpose area 6 is for civil legal assistance. And purpose area 8 is training within the civil justice system. You may have noticed that purpose areas 2, 4, and 7 are not listed in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. OVW addresses these 3 purpose areas through technical assistance grants, cooperative agreements, and special projects. Information about the JFF statutory purpose areas begins on page 11 of the NOFO. Next slide. Under Purpose Area 1, applicants who, 1, are planned to implement a new supervised visitation and safe exchange program, or 2, have never received funds from OVW for supervised visitation and safe exchange for families with a history of domestic violence must include a planning period for up to 12 months. If funded, these applicants may be eligible to receive an additional 24 months of non-competitive funding. Next slide. Projects that are addressing pro se victim service programs under Purpose Area 5B and civil legal assistance under Purpose Area 6 must count all associated costs towards the 50% cap on civil legal assistance described under Purpose Area 6 in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. All costs supporting civil legal assistance, including indirect cost and pro se victim assistance programs that provide civil legal assistance proposed under Purpose Area 5B, will be counted towards this cap on civil legal assistance. This information is provided on page 13 of the NOFO, as well as on page 25 in the budget section. A project in which the primary focus is on providing civil legal assistance is not appropriate for the Justice of Families program and will be removed from consideration. Applicants seeking to implement a civil legal assistance program may want to consider OVW's FY 2025 Legal Assistance for Victims Grant Program or the Expanding Legal Services Initiative. Please visit OVW's website for more information about these programs and for the FY 2025 Notice of Funding Opportunity Release Plan for these programs and others. Next slide. OVW is interested in funding projects that take a coordinated approach to helping families victimized by domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking as they navigate the justice system. To help achieve this coordinated approach, applicants may propose either a standard project or a comprehensive project. Under a standard project, applicants must propose activities under Purpose Area 1, supervised visitation, or Purpose Area 5, court and court-based programs. If an applicant is proposing to provide supervised visitation and safe exchange services under Purpose Area 1, the applicant must also propose activities under at least one additional purpose area. The court and court-based programs purpose area, which is Purpose Area 5, can be addressed on its own or in combination with another purpose area. You may apply to any or all of the subparts of the purpose area. However, OVW will not consider applications that only propose pro se victim assistance programs under Purpose Area 5B or only propose education and outreach programs under Purpose Area 5E. Additionally, Purpose Areas 3 or 8 cannot be solely combined with Purpose Area 5E, but may be combined if other purpose areas or subparts of 5 are also applied for. Projects that are only proposing training and education will not be considered. Due to the restrictions on providing civil legal service, which is that no more than 50% of the proposed project can support civil legal services, a project cannot propose activities solely from Purpose Area 6 and Purpose Area 5B for pro se assistance. Next slide. Under a comprehensive project, applicants must propose activities under Purpose Area 1, supervised visitation, Purpose Area 5, courts and court-based programs, and civil legal services. Applicants may include additional purpose areas in comprehensive projects if they choose, but they are required to include Purpose Areas 1, 5, and 6. Next slide. OVW must consider the following in making grants under this program. Applicants will be providing this information in either the proposal narratives or it will be reflected in the MOU or the letter of commitment with the required partnerships. We will consider the number of families to be served by the proposed programs and services, to the extent to which the programs and services are serve underserved populations, the extent to which the applicant demonstrates cooperation and collaboration with nonprofit, non-governmental entities in the local community with demonstrated history of effective work on domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking, including state or tribal domestic violence coalitions, state or tribal sexual assault coalitions, local shelters and programs for domestic violence and sexual assault victims, and the extent to which the applicant demonstrates coordinated and collaboration with state, tribal, and local court systems, including mechanisms for communication and referral. OVW will give special consideration to 1, court applicants proposing to collaborate with tribal communities, and 2, Indian tribal government applicants addressing Purpose Area 5. For courts seeking special consideration for collaboration with tribal communities, the application must include an Indian tribal government or tribal victim service provider from the applicant's jurisdiction as an MOU partner. For tribal applicants seeking special consideration, the applicant must be an Indian tribal government proposing to address Purpose Area 5 through either a standard or a comprehensive project. In addition, to encourage collaboration with victim service providers and court systems, OVW will give special consideration to applicants that demonstrate a coordinated system and community approach for court cases involving domestic violence through a specialized court, consolidated court, docket, and/or an intake center. Details about the statutory consideration may be found on page 14 of the NOFO. Next slide. The Notice of Funding Opportunity lists specific activities that are outside the scope of the Justice for Families program and will not be supported by the program's funding. Applications that propose activities that are deemed to be substantially out of scope may receive a deduction in points during the review process or may be eliminated from consideration entirely. The full list of out-of-scope activities and other unallowable costs may be found on page 16 of the Notice of Funding Opportunity. We do want to highlight an exception to telephonic and/or virtual monitoring of supervised visitation. This is noted in number 5 of the list of out-of-scope activities. OVW will only grant temporary exceptions to in-person supervised visitation where 1, grantees are experiencing extreme impediments such as the COVID-19 pandemic or a natural disaster, or 2, grantees are supporting families temporarily separated by a move of one parent to another state. To be eligible for these exceptions, grantees would be required to have a prior approval from OVW. This would be done as a grant award modification for the temporary exception. Recipients seeking this to provide virtual supervised visitation would be required to have policies established to ensure the safety of the adult survivor and the child. Again, the exception would be temporary and under these specific conditions. Next slide. Now we're going to move to the application's contents and formats, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Hannah Puffer.
Yes, thank you, Mo. And move to the next slide. Okay. The notice of funding opportunity lists specific activities that are out of scope for the Justice for Families program and will not be supported. I'm sorry, I am on the wrong slide. I apologize. The proposal abstract will be entered directly into a text box in JustGrants, but still should not be more than 2 pages double-spaced. Applicants are strongly encouraged, but not required, to use the template provided in the Notice of Funding Opportunity for the abstract. This template can be found on page 18 of the NOFO. The template is meant to be plain language and straightforward. The structure of the template is to simplify the writing of a clear and concise summary of your project and not to overcomplicate the time you are taking to write an abstract. The template is not required, but it has been provided for your ease. Next slide. The proposal narrative includes several questions, and all should be responded to unless clearly marked if applicable. Applicants will upload the proposal narrative as an attachment in JustGrants. Applicants should also include a header and responses to the questions asked in each section listed in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. Additional attachments, such as timelines, will not be considered when reviewing the application. The What Will Be Done section includes questions for all applicants and additional questions for each purpose area you are applying to. Please read the specifics of this section, which can be found on page 20 of the Notice of Funding Opportunity. Next slide. The budget worksheet and budget narrative will be submitted as attachments in JustGrants. A few things to consider when developing your budgets. Unless otherwise stated in an MOU or letter of commitment, are all project partners compensated? Do you have adequate funds to address accessibility? This must include at least the minimum amount of funds stated in the NOFO to support those with disabilities, funds addressing access to support individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing, and funds to support language access for interpretation or translation services. If you are not requesting funds for accessibility, we recommend you include a statement in the budget of other resources you have available to ensure meaningful access for persons with disabilities, those who are deaf or hard of hearing, or those who are limited in English proficiency. Include the designated amounts for OVW-sponsored TTA, or training and technical assistance. This should be $15,000 for standard projects and $20,000 for comprehensive projects for applicants located in the 48 contiguous states. However, this should include $20,000 for standard projects and $25,000 for comprehensive projects for applicants located in Puerto Rico, Guam, American Samoa, the Virgin Islands, the Northern Mariana Islands, Hawaii, and Alaska. Budget should be for 36 months. For details on what the budget must include, please see page 24 of the NOFO. Next slide. Applicants are generally required to submit an MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, a document containing the terms of the partnership and the roles and responsibilities between 2 or more parties. We recognize that courts are often precluded from signing on to an MOU. They may submit letters of commitment, or LOCs, in lieu of an MOU. Please note that LOCs submitted in lieu of an MOU under circumstances other than those described in the Notice of Funding Opportunity will not be accepted. A tribal government may submit a signed LOC from each partnering agency if they are unable to submit a signed MOU at the time of application. If selected for funding, the tribal government will be required to submit an MOU signed by all project partners as a deliverable post-award in JustGrants. Next slide. If the court is the lead applicant and unable to sign the MOU, all project partners should submit an LOC and no MOU is required. If the court is a project partner and unable to sign an MOU, the lead applicant should still submit an MOU signed by the applicant and any non-court partners, and the court partner should submit an LOC. If the nonprofit, non-governmental, or tribal domestic violence and/or sexual assault victim service provider is the lead applicant and the only project partner is the court should submit an LOC, but the lead applicant is not required to submit an MOU or LOC. Next slide. The Notice of Funding Opportunity provides detailed guidance on what an MOU and/or LOC should contain, including formal partnerships with both a nonprofit, non-governmental, or tribal domestic violence and/or a sexual assault victim service provider, and 2, a court. You will find guidance on what the MOU must contain on page 27 of the Notice of Funding Opportunity. A sample MOU is also available on OVW's website. The guidance for what the LOC must contain can be found on page 28 of the NOFO. You can also contact the Justice for Families program at ovw.jff@usdoj.gov if you have any questions about MOUs or LOCs. Next slide. OVW's Grant Financial Management Division, or GFMD, is involved in reviewing applications. GFMD reviews the following information required with all applications. In the next couple of slides, we are going to focus on aspects of your application that relate to documents that our financial team, the Grants Financial Management Division, reviews. More specifically, we'll discuss some items that GFMD has identified from prior year's applications that could help with expediting our review process. So for today, we're going to highlight certain aspects of the pre-award risk assessment and provide you with a link to a detailed webinar on how to develop the budget that will be included in your application. First, we'll highlight the items identified in the summary data sheet, which is completed by all applicants. Specifically, 3 items that we would like to discuss are the nonprofit requirement, the single audit response, and the IRS 3-step safe harbor procedure. If you are an eligible victim service provider to receive JFF funding, you are required to submit a determination letter from the IRS recognizing your tax-exempt status. OVW cannot make an award to any nonprofit organization that does not submit a 501c3 determination letter. We highlight this specifically because applicants are not including this as a part of their application, and this further delays our review. Please ensure that this document is included if applicable. OVW also requests that all applicants provide a statement as to whether they have expended $750,000 or more in federal funds during their last fiscal year. If they have, then they indicate that and also specify the end date of their last fiscal year. However, GFMD is finding that applicants do not always include all of this information. Please ensure that this question is answered in its entirety on the summary data sheet, specifically question 3. Another item that we'd like to highlight from the NOFO is specifically for nonprofit organizations. If you use the IRS 3-step safe harbor procedure to determine your executive's compensation, you are required to provide a disclosure letter. Please refer to the NOFO for further details and a link to a sample letter. Note that there are 4 required parts of this disclosure letter. The sample letter provided outlines all 4 parts of the disclosure, so please be sure to follow the sample and provide a response to each of these 4 pieces. The next item that we'd like to discuss is the pre-award risk assessment questions. Each assists GFMD with their pre-award risk assessment review for all applications. Each applicant must prepare a response to all 11 questions, and each question has multiple parts. We've noticed from prior years that applicants do not always fully answer all parts of the questions, which in return requires GFMD to reach out to the applicant, which may delay funding decisions. Some of the most common issues that we've encountered have been, for example, question 2, where the applicant indicates that they indeed have internal policies, but they don't provide a brief list of topics covered in the policies and procedures. On question number 3, some applicants fail to provide a brief summary of the organization's process for tracking expenditures, and more specifically, whether or not it tracks budget versus actual expenditures. These are just a few examples, but in general, please make sure that you read each piece of each question and provide a full and comprehensive response. Next slide. This slide will quickly highlight some of the resources that are available as you're creating the budget to be submitted with your application. This year, GFMD has developed a detailed webinar presentation on how to develop a budget to be submitted with your OVW application. This webinar addresses some of the challenges that you may face with your budgets and provides some insight on OVW's budget review process. This webinar can be found at the link on the slide. Next up is the uniform guidance, which can be found at 2 CFR 200, which you can use your favorite search engine to find. Other resources include the DOJ Financial Guide and the NOFO itself. Next slide. We know this can be a lot of information to process, so if you have any questions about the GFMD information discussed, please feel free to contact the GFMD Help Desk at 1-888-514-8556 or by email at ovw.gfmd@usdoj.gov. Next slide. And I will pass it back over to my colleague, Mo.
Thank you, Hannah. Excuse me. Now we'll review the process by which you will apply. Next slide, please. When you are ready to apply, applicants may find this funding opportunity on grants.gov by using the assistance listing number, which is 16.021, grants.gov opportunity number, or the title of this notice of funding opportunity, all of which may be found on the cover page. The FY 2025 application submission is a two-step process. Application materials will be submitted in grants.gov and JustGrants. We recommend starting this application process, even if it's just the registration process for grants.gov and JustGrants, as soon as possible, especially if you are unfamiliar and learning the JustGrants system. Next slide. Please read the Notice of Funding Opportunity very carefully to understand all steps required to submit an application and the time to complete those steps. Some steps, such as obtaining a unique entity identifier, or the UEI, the number, or registering with the System for Award Management, or SAM, or JustGrant or grants.gov, may take several days to complete. We recommend applicants begin this process as soon as possible, but no later than the date suggested in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. Next slide. Applicants must complete the application for federal assistance or the SF 424 in grants.gov. The specific information required for this step includes is included in the information to complete the application for federal assistance SF 424 section of the Notice of Funding Opportunity. This information is found on page 18 of the Notice of Funding Opportunity. Applicants must also complete and submit the disclosure of lobbying activities, or the SFLLL, in grants.gov. After submitting these forms, the applicant will receive an email notification from JustGrants to complete the rest of the application in JustGrants. If the applicant is a new user in JustGrants, the email will include instructions on registering with JustGrants. Excuse me. Next slide, please. Applicants will submit the full application, including attachments, in JustGrants. Applicants will enter some application information directly into text boxes in the system, fill out web-based forms, and upload documents as attachments. We've included the following major elements of the application as examples of what applicants will submit in JustGrants. They include the proposal abstract, which will be entered directly in a text box in JustGrants. The summary data sheet will be completed and submitted as an attachment. The pre-award risk assessment questionnaire will be completed in JustGrants. The proposal narrative will be uploaded as an attachment. The budget worksheet and budget narrative will be uploaded as an attachment, and the memorandum of understanding and/or the letters of commitment will be uploaded as an attachment. In addition to these major elements, other documentation will be required for all applications or when applicable. Read the Notice of Funding Opportunity very carefully for a full description of all items required within a specific application. And the application checklist can be found on page 34 of the Notice of Funding Opportunity. Next slide, please. In JustGrants, each applying entity will have an assigned entity administrator who is responsible for managing entity-level information and assigning roles in the system. The entity administrator is also the eBiz point of contact designated in SAM.gov. For more information on registering with JustGrants, please refer to the website justicegrants.usdoj.gov. Within 24 hours of JustGrants receiving your application from grants.gov, the user submitting the application in grants.gov and the SAM eBiz point of contact will receive an email to register for the JustGrants account. The email is from DOG Secure User Management System, which is Diamond, and will include instructions on how to create an account. To ensure that you receive these emails and they are not flagged as spam, we recommend adding Diamond, DIAMD-NO, reply, REPLY, at usdoj.gov to the trusted sender list in your email settings. The email is provided for you on the PowerPoint. Next slide, please. The eBiz point of contact at the applicant organization serves as the entity administrator and must log into JustGrants to confirm the entity's profile and add users. The user submitting the application in grants.gov serves as the application submitter. Within minutes of completing your JustGrants account registration, the application submitter and the eBiz point of contact users will receive an email from JustGrants with links to the application started in grants.gov registration. Alternately, the applicant submitter can log into JustGrants and locate your pending application, numeric digits including GRANT of the grants.gov tracking number in your track list on the home or landing page. The example of a grants.gov format is provided for you on the slide. It would be GRANT 99999. Next slide, please. The entity administrator will need to log into JustGrants to review the authorized representatives associated with the entity. If an authorized representative needs to be invited, the entity administrator will need to invite the individual to receive a JustGrants account. Note that an organization can have more than one authorized representative, as long as those individuals have documented authority to sign an agreement with the federal government. These actions are required before an application is submitted. Within minutes of being invited to be an authorized representative, the individual will receive an email from diamond.no-reply@usdoj.gov with instructions on how to create an account in the DOJ's secure user management system. Once the authorized representative receives the email and completes the steps to create an account, the authorized representative will be available in JustGrants. Next slide, please. The application submitter will need to complete the application by entering data into web-based forms, uploading attachments, and accepting assurances and certifications. The application submitter will also need to select the authorized representative or representatives for your organization. Once all sections are completed, the application submitter will submit the application. Upon successful submission of an application, the application submitter, entity administrator, and authorized representative will receive an email from JustGrants confirming submission of an application. We strongly encourage all applicants to begin the application submitting process at least 48 hours before each deadline. Excuse me. Failure to do so may result in missing the deadline and therefore not being considered for funding. Next slide, please. The Department of Justice has made a collection of self-guided training resources, including training and virtual Q&A sessions on the application submission. These resources are provided and available at the website displayed on this slide. Next slide, please. Recipients of OVW funds must comply with applicable federal civil rights laws, which are, among other things, prohibit recipients from discriminating on the basis of national origin and disability. This includes taking reasonable steps to ensure meaningful access to grantees, programs, and activities for individuals with disabilities, deaf individuals, and persons with limited English proficiency. Applicants must include funds or other resources in their budget to support activities to ensure access for individuals with disabilities, deaf or hard of hearing individuals, and persons with limited English proficiency. Next slide, please. Again, applications are due on January 22nd, 2025, and must be submitted by 8:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Applications submitted after 8:59 p.m. Eastern Time on January 22nd, 2025 will not be considered for funding. Carefully review the How to Apply and Submission Dates and Time sections for application actions with required deadlines and OVW's policy on late submissions. This important information starts on page 30 of the Notice of Funding Opportunity. As a reminder, we encourage submissions of all application components at least 48 hours before each deadline in grants.gov or JustGrants as applicable. This will enable applicants to receive notice of failed submission and provide an opportunity to correct the error before the applicable deadline. Next slide, please. If you have any questions, programmatic questions after reviewing the solicitation in full, such as whether your entity is eligible to apply or if a particular activity is allowable under this program, contact the Justice for Families program by emailing ovw.jff@usdoj.gov or calling OVW at 202-307-6026. If you have financial questions, contact the OVW Grants Financial Management Division by emailing ovw.gfmd@usdoj.gov or call 202-307-6026. If you need technical assistance with grants.gov, please contact the grants.gov applicant support line by emailing support@grants.gov or by calling 800-518-4726. And if you need technical assistance with JustGrants, please contact OVW JustGrants support by emailing ovw.justgrantsupport@usdoj.gov or by calling 866-655-4482. Next slide. And now we're going to offer you the ability to unmute yourself so we can take questions. We're also going to read some of the questions off. And I'm going to turn it back to my colleague, Hannah Puffer.
Yes, thank you, Mo. And we have received several questions in the chat, so thank you for your patience as we have been working through them. So one of the questions is, are there examples of what to use funding for accessibility for victims with disabilities on? So you, as an applicant, will determine the needs of your community in terms of victims with disabilities and what their needs may be. The next question is, if we propose a project for Purpose Area 3 and Purpose Area 5B, would we need to include additional activities to be eligible? Mo, if you can jump in, my computer is freezing just a little bit.
Hold on. Sorry. I was about to answer a different question. Which one were you reading, Hannah? I apologize.
The question we were on was, if we propose a project for Purpose Area 3 and 5B, would we need to include additional activities to be eligible?
sorry about that. So purpose area 3 and 5B. I apologize. My computer is.
I can jump
Okay.
in.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Julie.
Sure. So no, I will say caveat though, I think they've answered this question a few times in the chat already. If you're proposing 5B as pro se victim assistance, that can be no more than 50% of your project. And then that would leave training a very large portion of the project. So I would just be mindful of what's the purpose of your project and what you are trying to include. If you are looking to do more legal assistance, the Legal Assistance for Victims program may be a better suited program for you.
Thank you, Julie.
Cool.
And the next question is the budget won't need to be input into JustGrants, only uploaded as an attachment. Yes, that's correct. Your budget will be submitted in JustGrants as an attachment. If you have applied to OVW in previous years, there have been previous years when the budget was inputted directly into JustGrants. However, this year it will be submitted as an attachment. The next question, if we are a court visitation program community funded through the court services budget, would a county domestic violence action / family services program count as a qualified partner? So the definition of a victim service provider included a nonprofit, non-governmental, or tribal victim service provider. If you are a county or court victim service provider, that does not fall under the definition of a victim service provider. So you would need to secure an additional partner that falls under that definition.
I have a question.
Yes.
I put in the box, it appears to me that there exists a non-inclusive position established toward the participation of minority small businesses establishments for profit. Those that are for profit, there is no clear way to participate in the solicitation. Am I correct on that?
Yes, you are correct. The statute does not allow for for-profit organizations to apply to this grant program.
Why is that?
That is written by Congress. That is what the statute says.
Wow. But you talk about inclusiveness, right?
We are implementing the grant program based on the statute authorized us by Congress.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
I have a question also. I'm sorry. I have a question about the appropriateness of this funding for the support of a family justice center. If the county is a local unit of government, would they be able to be the lead applicant for this funding if they're looking to support a district attorney's office led family justice center that has partnerships with both the court and nonprofit community domestic violence providers?
So Sunny, this would be a project you would want to propose under the Improving Criminal Justice for Families, ICJR, including Improving Criminal Justice Responses program. So the Justice for Families program is not really designed to set up a full-on family justice center with the DA's office being the lead, but our ICJR program, which should be out in a couple weeks as well, is the more suited program for that type of project to go under.
Okay, and you said that one, I'm sorry, can you give me the name of that again so I can keep my eye out for it?
Improving Criminal Justice Responses.
Would that work for a mediation center as well? I'm working with the 11th Judicial in Tennessee, and they're trying to do a mediation center for the courts.
So we might need more details about what that means, but as far as Family Justice Center and DA's office, that would be ICJR. But you can always email us. That sounds like maybe we want some more information. So you can always email us and Mo and Hannah can talk to you more directly about it.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
I have a question. I know it was asked in the Q&A, just for some examples. It looks like the link that was shared, the spin.gov, is not working. So I just wanted to see if there was another way to see some previous proposals.
Sure. You can always do a FOIA request. The FOIA information is on our website as well. And we can drop that link in the chat as well. So that would take some time. But USA spending, let's see if I can pull it up. So it's just usaspending.gov. And we will drop that in the chat as well.
Thank you.
I do have another question as well. So law firm owners, do they have to essentially partner up with a nonprofit or a victim service unit to bid? Or does the nonprofit that they partner up with, do they have to bid?
So if you're a legal service provider and you fit the definition of legal service provider, you can be the lead applicant. However, you do have to have both partners.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, as a service provider of the nonprofit, we do shelter and relocation. Are we able to apply for this or no? We
What
don't.
would be the proposal? Would it be to enhance your services as a shelter?
Well, we do have a shelter. We currently have a shelter. We are a small organization, and we do have we provide long-term care shelters, transitional shelters for people with disability and domestic violence. So would we be able to apply for this or no?
You would not be able to use it for, you could be eligible to apply. You'd have to follow the purpose areas, and these purpose areas do not cover enhancing shelter services or transitional housing services.
So it doesn't cover what does it cover? Does it cover providing the services for like victim services? For legal counsel?
The purpose areas, right? So the purpose areas that the staff went through of supervised visitation and safe exchange services, training for the judicial system and justice partners, purpose areas 3 and 8, court and court-based services, purpose area 5, and there's several under there, and civil legal assistance.
Okay, so therefore, since how we only offered pro se legal assistance, this wouldn't be something that we need to apply for, am I right?
Correct.
Okay, got you.
Julie, I have a question.
Yes.
We are a legal services provider. That's primarily what we do, but we do have a legal advocacy van mobile unit. So would that fall under 5E? Because I know we're trying to get beyond the 5B, but also 5E.
So if it's legal advocacy, that would still also be under civil legal assistance or 5B. If it's legal related, then it falls under the 50% cap. You have to propose something else. If it's just legal services, currently we do have the legal assistance for victims, NOFO open as well, and that pre-app call is next week. And that has no limitations on legal services.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So with regards to the purpose areas, we're a supervised visitation center here in central Pennsylvania. The proposed areas, I would have to match one with a 5 or a 6, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you can, your purpose area 1 can be matched with any other purpose area.
But it has to be matched with something else.
It has to be matched with something else. So it could be training. So 3 and 8 are training, and 5 and 6 are courts and legal services. So just any of the others.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Julie, that sparked another question. So when we say training, we do have a partnership where we do trainings with Spelman College. and students in Atlanta University Center regarding domestic violence, stalking, etc. Could that qualify under this? We do have a MOU in place with Spelman.
You'd have to look at purpose areas 3 and 8, there's specific groups, and it's training the partners in the civil justice system.
Okay.
So you'd have to look back at that and see if that group call fits into that.
Okay, gotcha.
And Julie, I want to be mindful of the folks who've had their hands raised as well.
I had a quick question. In regards to the court partnership, I'm a legal service provider and I partner with, well, not partner, but I give pro bono services. I'm a part of a New York State Unified Court Program, volunteer program for family court services. So we provide pro bono services for family court matters. So I wanted to know if that could be classified as a partnership. Because you have to take like a training and you have to go through the court to be selected, and then you provide the pro bono services.
So it doesn't sound like it would be a required partner. It can always be another partner, but pro bono legal services would not necessarily sound like it's a partner for the required partnerships.
Okay, for the court. So I'm trying to gauge like when it's pertaining to the court, because I see the word and. So if I have the nonprofit component met, you know, what does that court partnership really look like?
That is completely up to you and you're working with the court and deciding what that looks like.
Okay.
Michelle?
I think you just answered my question because I have a nonprofit, but we're multi-jurisdictional. And we just got DOJ approval for immigration, and we're looking to do partnerships with the 11th Federal. So because of our systems and how Stephanie just asked her question, some of us are individuals and we partner with the courts. I think you just answered my question. I'll quit wasting your time. I've had too much coffee. Thank you so much.
I honestly, you know, to piggyback off of her, I think that is a partnership because you cannot just provide pro bono services for a state court. You have to go through channels and avenues and you have to be certified to go through it, and you get awarded, there's recognition. So I definitely would think that would classify as a partnership.
So the pro bono attorneys as a partnership?
No,
Or
those
you
are,
as an individual?
yeah, so we're for profits. I get paid. So you have to apply. There's an application
So
process.
you could always be a partner, but it wouldn't be the required partners because the required partner has to be a nonprofit, non-governmental.
Oh, right. Yeah. So I have the nonprofit. I'm talking about the latter.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah,
nonprofit.
and then you'd have to you have to have a court partner. So you have to have the court, someone who's authorized by the court, like a chief judge, executive officer, they're signing on as the other partner. That is the and. So it's the person who represents the court and has the authority from the court. So
Okay.
an employee, a judge, like they have to be the ones to sign on to the project.
Okay. Thank you.
So then on that, to piggyback back off my question, because in Tennessee, we have a contract with the Chancery Court where we do IPV cases for free. We just started that. They're set up to where they're not together. Is that a partner between TAC and the 11th?
So whether that's a partner or not, in the project that's proposed, the court still has to sign a LOC or a MOU. The court has to be the one signing it.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one more question along the lines of the same question. So what if there are two nonprofit partners? Does that qualify, or does it have to be a court partner and a nonprofit?
It has to at least be a nonprofit that meets the victim service definition and a court. And you can have other partners, but both a court and a nonprofit victim service provider have to be in the project.
Got it. Thank you.
Victoria.
I have one more question. Okay, even though we apply that, we are certified mediation for family and for families and legal services where we assist them with protective orders and everything. Is that something that we can apply for? Do you have anything available for administrative services that we provide for the victims?
So if it fits into one of the purpose areas, if it fits into one of the purpose areas of purpose area 5, if it's a court-based or court-related project, you are welcome to propose that project.
So by being the mediator, we are welcome to do that as a nonprofit. And that's the only thing that we have to.
Nonprofits are eligible,
Mhm.
and then they just have to fit into you have to propose projects that are in the purpose areas and the other parameters of the solicitation.
Okay, so the other areas, we don't have to even worry with those, am I right? As long as we
Yes,
have
many
that.
organizations do many things, and so you can propose projects that just address one thing in your organization and your partners in your community.
Got you. Okay. Mhm.
Katie?
Hi, I was just wondering, and I apologize if I missed this one. So we are a district attorney's office, but we do partner with the courts and with nonprofits. I don't know if a district attorney's office is allowed to apply. We have applied, we have had the mayor's office apply on our behalf in the past. So I don't know if this is something, if we would fall under being able to apply with those partners.
So a DA's office would not qualify as a lead applicant. It's neither a unit of local government, county, city, state, and it's neither a court. So you would not be able to be the lead applicant.
Okay, so if we just had the lead applicant being the mayor's office again or something, then we would fall under that.
Yeah, the mayor's office would be a eligible applicant.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Lee?
So inside my agency, CenterSafe, there is an element that provides services, CLR for legal, and as well as a element that does education. Does that cover the 1, 5, and 8s for me, or does it have to be outside of my parent agency?
So the activities and who's implementing them does not necessarily have to be outside your agency, but you do have to have the partners, and that does need to be apparent that you're working together.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome. Elizabeth?
Hi, thanks for holding this session. So I work for a nonprofit that is a free legal assistance provider. And so I'm just trying to figure out if we meet the definition of a victim service provider or if we would need to work with another partner, because we do provide services to victims, but they're mostly legal related and social work related.
So if you do provide direct victim services and they are legal related, then that still qualifies as a direct victim service provider.
Okay, great. And quick follow-up question. So did you say that because if we're, applying under 5B and under purpose area 6, that anything legal related would be subject to the 50% cap?
Correct.
And so anything including like know your rights, public education, things like that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Tanisha?
Okay.
Sorry, I had trouble getting unmuted. So I wanted to kind of follow up off that question that was just asked, because we are a visitation center. We do provide services to families that have a history of domestic violence, but that's not the sole, like we provide supervised visitation to everyone. So would we be considered victim services or not? I'm sorry.
Is one of your primary goals to provide services to families with a history of domestic violence?
Yes, but the service that we provide is specifically the safe exchanges and supervised visitation. So it's not any other service besides that.
Yes, providing supervised visitation and safe exchange services under a dedicated unit or department of your organization to families with a history of domestic violence would count as a victim service provider. It just has to be very clear in your application that that is something that your organization does and has a clear division or unit or what have you, or it's in their mission statement.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Marcy?
Hi, yes, for purpose area number 6, can civil legal services be provided for all victims or only victims who are proceeding pro se?
Victims of domestic violence. Yes, all victims of domestic violence.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Rebecca?
Yes, hi. Thanks for taking my question. I was wondering, we're an organization that, can you hear me?
Yes.
We're an organization that is in our first year. So the requirement to have a audit done for the year, that puts us out of compliance, correct?
So if this is your first time funding, you may be required to submit your current year's audit report at a later time. So you may be able to apply, you just don't have to submit the audit until a later time.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was thinking that maybe we weren't able to do it.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I have one quick question and last one. So in terms of court partners, will military courts qualify?
So as long as they meet the definition of a court, and so military courts is not listed as our definition of a court. A court is a state, local, getting back to the, so a court is any civil or criminal, tribal or Alaska Native village, federal, state, local, or territorial court. So military court would not be eligible.
Thank you.
Katie?
What is the difference between a court-based and court-related programs?
So a court-based program would be something within the court, and court-related program could be something that is related to the court, involves the court, maybe not housed in the court, but facilitates. It's what makes the court better and what is related to the court.
And this is, sorry for broken record, but so could a district attorney's office be considered court related then? If we work, we work with offender accountability and all that with the courts?
So offender accountability has its own purpose area. That's purpose area 5C.
Yeah. Yep. So, but a DA's office under a local unit of government could apply and be considered court related if the lead applicant is a local unit of government.
Right. So the purpose area is court-based, court-related, and then A, B, C, D through F detail the actual activities.
Okay.
So that would be a yes.
Yep. Yep. Right. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
She didn't answer.
Leanne?
Yes, this is similar to the question about the visitation center, on the lines that our organization serves all victims of crime. However, over 50% fall within the categories of domestic violence, stalking, rape, sexual assault, human trafficking. So would we be eligible as a nonprofit because it is not part of our mission statement per se, that it is strictly for those victimizations, but the majority are this population.
So if you meet the definition that you directly serve victims of crime and of domestic violence, and that you have a documented history of effective work concerning domestic violence, right? So that's on your organization to demonstrate that in the application, so that if you're counting yourselves as that required partner, that you are showing that you are qualified to document yourself as those required partners.
Excellent. So we'll be able to justify that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Emily?
Hi, I'm just wondering if you can describe what is required of a planning period for new grantees or new programs.
So that is just for the supervised visitation. And you should allow for a planning period, and that you'll be developing policies and procedures. And there's some other guidance up in the NOFO of, working with the TA provider. You don't have to be incredibly detailed, but it should be very specific in your budget that you've allotted for planning time.
Got it. Okay, so if we are an established supervised visitation provider submitting a comprehensive project with a domestic violence partner providing court-based services, is that still required, the planning period, or
Just the planning period for
the
the
supervised visit
supervised?
period? Okay, cool, thank you.
You're welcome. Kit?
Hi, I was wondering, I'm gonna describe something and then ask if you think it fits with the project area. We're looking to to expand SANE services, so sexual assault nurse examiner services. And I was wondering if that fall under, purpose area 5F, other projects likely to improve court responses to domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking.
So no, because it still would need to be a court-based and court-related, so it needs to be centered around the court. SANE programs are not covered under this NOFO. There are
Okay.
other programs in the office that are covered that help with developing SANE nurses and programs.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Christine?
Yeah, thank you. Another kind of hypo. How about if we would be looking to apply under purpose area 6 and 5. Under 5, could 5F include developing an expert witness project to educate the courts that could be used in civil and legal criminal proceedings?
So that does sound like education and outreach. So that would be more of 5E. It's not unallowable, but again, with purpose area 6, there is the limitation of 50% legal services. And so being careful of what the project looks like and is providing direct services outside of legal services.
So if you were an expert developing expert witnesses would be considered legal services, even if it wasn't specific to a case?
Is it expert witnesses of legal?
Yes.
Attorney?
Yeah.
Yes, if it's related to legal, this is not if it's 100% legal related, this is not the program to apply for.
Okay. One more question under purpose area 6. Can you use it for contract attorneys?
Yes.
And is there a limit on the hourly rate that can be paid?
There is not. It should be reasonable, allocable, and allowable.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Emma, I'll turn it back to you guys.
Okay, thank you, Julie. And we have been trying to answer some of the questions in the chat as they've been coming up. Give me just a moment. Okay, so one of the questions was how is purpose area 8 and purpose area 3 different? So purpose area 3 is for training for court-based and court-related personnel. And purpose area 8 is for training within the civil justice system. So that includes some different partners such as judges, judicial personnel, attorneys, child welfare staff, legal advocates, and others. So it is a different audience for those different purpose areas. The next
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
If I am a nonprofit organization that works with domestic violence and I have 6 years experience working with domestic violence and I have the proof of it, do I still need another nonprofit as a partner or just a court?
So you have to meet the definition of a victim service provider that's provided in the NOFO. So if you meet that definition, then you only need a court partner. If you do not meet that definition, then you need an additional victim service provider and a court partner.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I just want to jump in that an individual cannot meet the definition. It has to be a nonprofit, non-governmental organization. Just wanted to provide that clarification.
Yes, thank you, Julie.
And for those of us that are newbies to the DOJ for funding, not to sound stupid, but what is a certificate of eligibility and how do I get one? I feel like I'm looking for a Willy Wonka bar.
Yes, that is a great question. So within the NOFO, there are a few different certifications that are listed, and there may be different certifications that are required depending on the purpose areas that you are applying for. So, and I am scrolling. So on page 31 of the NOFO, it lists the different requirements of certifications that you may need, one of them being the certification of eligibility. And it does include a link to OVW's website that includes a sample of a certification of eligibility. And so to clarify what that certification is, because that is the certification that is required by all applicants, that is certifying that the applicant does not require mediation or counseling involving offenders and victims being physically present in the same place in cases where domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking is alleged.
If I could react, I'd do all the like fingers and the heart emojis right now for the way you answered that question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one more
I have a question.
Oh,
Hello.
Yes,
I
Cynthia.
wanted to know, what about human trafficking? Do that falls in the realm of the victim assistance? Because I know we're a foster care agency nonprofit, but we also do human trafficking for a lot of the youth and teenagers that come into the agency. So with that,
So the victimization is covered by statute, and the Justice for Family program only covers domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, and in some cases of child sexual abuse. So human trafficking is not included in the statute for this program.
okay, but child sexual abuse will.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then Tanisha.
so one more time for focus area 3 and focus area 8. The difference is 3 is specific for court personnel, and then 8 is for, it could be court personnel, advocates, CPS workers. Is that correct, or did I have it backwards?
Right. So I am pulling up the NOFO. So on page 12 and 13, it goes through page 12 and 13 of the NOFO. It goes through the different individuals who are considered the audience for those purpose areas. So purpose area 3 is for court-based and court-related personnel. So the examples that are listed in the NOFO are custody evaluators, guardians ad litem, child protective service workers, etc. And then purpose area 8 is for those who work directly in the civil justice system. So those would be judges, judicial personnel, attorneys, legal advocates, etc. So that's specifically in the civil justice system for purpose area 8.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nanda, we have 2 minutes left of our call, so we're going to be wrapping up soon. We have been trying to answer the questions in the Q&A box as best we can. We will be receiving a recording of this presentation as well as transcripts, and then we hope to then shortly post frequently asked questions sheet as well on the Justice for Families on the OVW website. And we'll have the transcript of this recording and the questions as well.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
want to thank everyone for your interest, your questions. They are very important to us. We hope to get back to you. You can, if there are any specific programmatic questions, please remember to email the OVW email that's provided in this PowerPoint and in the NOFO. And we'll be able to respond to those program-specific questions as best we can.
And I also just put our email in the chat box, so please feel free to reach out.
Well, that concludes today's session. So thank you very much, everyone.